Hi, it's John. Welcome to my channel EV Intuition, where I help you understand about electric vehicles. The biggest difference between electric vehicles and gas vehicles is regards to chargers. What are the different charging types and what are the various charging connectors? I'm going to help you understand that today. So stay tuned and let's get started. Before I begin this video, I want to ask you to please subscribe to my channel. I provide a lot of videos in regards to educating you on electric vehicles, their advantages and their disadvantages, their pros and cons. So I hope you enjoy that content. In today's episode, we're going to talk about electric vehicle chargers, helping you understand that. First of all, the key thing you need to know is that there's really two different types of electric vehicle chargers. The first, which is referred to as an AC charger, and I also call it a slow charger because it tends to take hours for the vehicle to charge when using an AC charger. Now, these AC chargers are typically used for both fully electric vehicles, which we call BEVs or battery electric vehicles, and plug-in hybrid vehicles because they have small batteries and can benefit from the low cost of charging and the convenience of AC chargers. So every electric vehicle can handle AC chargers. The second class of electric vehicle chargers is DC fast chargers. They're also called, by Tesla, refers to their DC fast chargers as Superchargers. But typically, these type of chargers are only used on fully electric or battery electric vehicles. They provide a lot of energy in a small amount of time and quickly charge your vehicle relative to AC chargers. Now, the key thing that you have to know about all chargers is that the key metric for charger is the amount of power or how fast they charge. So you got to recall that power is measured in kilowatts, or it's the amount of energy that is delivered into the battery per unit time. So power can be calculated by multiplying the voltage by the current and dividing it by 1,000 to convert it to kilowatts. For example, I give you one example of a typical AC charger might be running at 240 volts, delivering 40 amps to the battery. And in that case, you're going to have 9.6 kilowatts. Now, the key thing to remember is the bigger the number, the faster the vehicle is charging. Ideally, you want the highest amount of power or charging speed in order to quickly charge your vehicle. So keep that in mind as we describe these different types of chargers. Now, let's get into more detail about the AC chargers first. It's important to note that commonly these are referred to as level 1 or level 2 chargers. And the reason they're called AC chargers is that they use alternating current, which happens to be the current and the voltage that is delivered to your homes. Now, the thing about AC current is that batteries in electric vehicles are inherently use direct current. So there is a component in the vehicle that converts that AC voltage and current into DC current, and that's called the onboard charger. The level 1 and level 2 AC chargers are typically found in homes and public chargers. In particular, the level 1, which only operates at 120 volts, is typically only found in homes and typically used only for plug-in hybrid electric vehicles because their charge rate is so slow. Now, plug-in hybrids have a much smaller battery than fully electric vehicles, so that amount of energy delivery is sufficient for those type of vehicles. Now, level 1 chargers have the advantage that all homes in the United States are wired with a standard 120 volt outlet. And typically your garage could have that outlet also. So it would require no additional wiring to put a level 1 AC charger into your house. So the simplicity and low cost of that is an advantage for some people. But keep in mind, the speed at which that charges is much lower. It only goes up to typically 3 kilowatts. And if you had a fully electric vehicle, that could take over a day or over 24 hours to fully charge. The more common type of AC charger is the level 2. And this is what you find in people's homes that have fully electric vehicles and that you'll find in public places like municipal parking lots and garages and in places of employment and other municipal locations throughout your town and city. The nice part about a level 2 charger is that it charges at a sufficient rate that a fully electric vehicle can be fully charged typically overnight. Now, just to give you an example, I have a level 2 AC charger in my home. It runs at 240 volts and delivers 40 amps. So it runs at 9.6 kilowatts. That can help fully charge my Tesla Model Y in about 9 to 10 hours. The next category, the DC fast charger. Now, DC fast chargers, or referred to by Tesla as superchargers, are used when you need to charge your vehicle in the least amount of time. The problem with this type of charger is that it requires a lot of energy, more energy than it is delivered to the standard US home. So you won't find DC fast chargers in any homes unless you've got some special hookup with your utility company. So DC fast chargers are typically found in malls and gas stations, rest stops, along the throughways or expressways. And the peak power that they deliver runs anywhere from 50 kilowatts to about 350 kilowatts today. And so typically, if you had a plug-in hybrid vehicle, many plug-in hybrids, there's very few plug-in hybrid vehicles that have the hookup for a DC fast charger. So typically today, plug-in hybrids do not have the ability to connect a DC fast charger to them. The other thing to keep in mind, some people refer to these DC fast chargers as level 3 chargers. Now let's talk about connectors now that we know the different types of chargers out there. First, a little history to better understand why there are multiple connectors out there. Now, Tesla kind of started the latest revolution here in the United States around electric vehicles over a decade ago, and there were standards were just being developed at that time. So Tesla decided to create its own standard, which was proprietary at the time. And the Japanese also had their own standard at that time. They were coming out with similar electric vehicles also, similar to Tesla. And then other manufacturers started to come out. But when they started coming out, it was several years after Tesla, and there were some standards in place. And that's why you have a variety of standards out there. Now, the good news is that in late 2022, Tesla made their standard public and called it the North America Charging Standard. However, at the time, all the other manufacturers were using other standard connectors. The good news is in 2023, starting with Ford and then later GM, and then all the other US manufacturers and foreign manufacturers of electric vehicles, they agreed to standardize using the North American Charging Standard, the formerly Tesla standard. And since that time, that standard has also been adopted by the Society of Automotive Engineers and is referred to as J3400. So that's all good news in that these multiple connectors that we have today are going to move to the Tesla standard. Now, the year that is slated for seems to be around 2025. So we can expect starting in 2025 that vehicles from all manufacturers will have one single connector. In the meantime, we have a large amount of other connectors that are out there that you're going to have to deal with. Now, for AC chargers, the two different connector types is the Tesla standard, which happens to support both AC charging and DC fast charging, which is a nice property of the Tesla connector or the NACS connector. But prior to that, all the other electric vehicles, such as Ford, GM, and many of the foreign manufacturers, also supported another standard for AC charging referred to as J1772. So keep that in mind that if you go to many public places where there are chargers, the electric vehicle connector there tends to be J1772. You may say, well, then how's Tesla deal with those? Tesla always provides with their vehicle a J772 adapter to the NACS connector. So it's just a small little adapter that you hook onto the J772 plug, and then you can plug that into your Tesla vehicle. For AC charger, the two different types is J772 and NACS, depending if you have a Tesla today or a non-Tesla. The other connectors relate to DC fast charging. Now, DC fast charging, there's the NACS connector, which I've mentioned earlier, supports both AC charging and DC charging. But all non-Tesla vehicles to date use what's referred to as the CCS, or the combined charging standard. So the interesting about the combined charging standard, and why it's referred to as the combined charging standard, is that it consists of a portion of it that can be used for AC charging and is compatible with the J1772 connector. And then it has some additional plugs for DC connection. The one other standard for DC fast charging I just want to point out, because you'll see it at some charging locations, is referred to as CHAdeMO. And this is a Japanese standard, and it came out when the Nissan Leaf, which is an early electric vehicle, came out about 10 years or so. And recently, even Nissan is moving away from that standard. So you won't see that out there very much longer, but you may see it at some charging standards and wonder what that is. But it is basically a fast charging connector for Japanese vehicles such as the Nissan Leaf. Okay, so now let's take a look at the charger types. I'm showing a slide of non-Tesla chargers. Now keep in mind, you might ask, well, how do I know the difference between an AC charger and DC fast charger when I walk up to it? Well, the key thing is by the connector type, and you may also know it by the size of the charger unit itself. The AC chargers tend to be much compact and smaller in size, since they're only delivering about 240 volts and maybe 40 or 30 amps or so. The larger DC fast chargers have a much bigger box unit that the connectors and the plugs are connected with. So that's another clue. But they also have only the CCS charging plug on them versus the J772. So when looking at a non-Tesla charging, you'll typically find that it has a J772 for connector for AC level 2 or level 1 charging, and you just remove that connector and plug it into the top half of your vehicle. Keep in mind that non-Tesla vehicles have a CCS plug, which the top portion is compatible with the J772 standard. So you just plug that in right into your vehicle's top portion of that. When you go to a DC fast charger, which has this big plug shown in the bottom set of pictures, you need to make sure that your CCS plug in your vehicle has all those plugs open, and you just take that big plug and connect it into your vehicle to begin the charging process. Now, the nice thing about Tesla, or the North American charging standard, is that it has one connector that does both AC charging and DC charging. You could buy for your home a charger that just has a NACS connector on it and plug it directly in your vehicle. Now, if you had a charger in your home prior to having a Tesla, you can use the adapter to go from J772 connector to the Tesla NACS and then plug it into your vehicle. And I show that in the top panel of pictures there. The top two pictures show my Tesla AC connector, which plugs directly into it. But when I go to public parking lots or locations where I'm charging for AC chargers, I have to use the adapter that comes with every Tesla. Plug it on the end of the plug, and then it plugs directly into my vehicle. For DC fast charger, Tesla refers to their DC fast chargers as Superchargers, and the navigation system can navigate you to those locations. They always have a white with a red lettering charger unit that looks similar throughout the country, and I show you a picture of a Tesla Supercharger there. But the nice part about DC fast charging for Teslas, you just plug it right in. And the other advantage of the Tesla NACS connector is that it's much lighter weight and simpler to use and maneuver than the big, bulky CCS connectors that you find in non-Tesla vehicles. To summarize, there's two types of electric vehicle chargers out there: AC slow chargers and DC fast chargers. AC chargers I refer to as level 1, level 2. Typically they're level 2 with 240 volts. and they're typically found in most public charging locations and in people's homes. DC fast chargers are found on expressways and in big shopping malls or shopping parking lots where cars can easily access them off expressways, because that's where DC fast charging is done. So I hope you've enjoyed this video on helping you understand the differences of electric vehicle chargers and connectors. Please subscribe to my channel and look at other videos related to helping you understand electric vehicles. Till next time, take care, and thanks for watching.